how's it going? For those of you who watched the Recon 1 Steel XR comparison, this will be another requested comparison with the Cold Steel AD10 versus the SOG Seal XR. Now, most of you are well aware that I'm a big Cold Steel fan and I'm a big Andrew Demko fan, and I have said before and I'll say again, the AD10 is one of my very favorite production knives in existence. In fact, it's one of my favorite knives in existence. Now, I'm a knife guy, I'm a knife reviewer, so when I say a favorite knife, it's kind of like I'm also a preacher. So when I say this is my favorite Bible verse, I've got a lot of favorites and I've got a lot of favorite knives, but no question, the AD10 would be very, very high on my list of favorites. And, if I was going to have to keep, 3 knives or 5 knives or something, we've done those videos before here. This would definitely be very near the end. So let's do a comparison of these two knives. I just wanted to get my biases out of the way. I guess I should say, since I'm sharing my biases and my thoughts, that I have not always been a SOG fan, but the Flash and the Terminus XR and the Kiko XR, they've done a lot of really, really good stuff that's really compelling. And actually, I have to say, having handled this knife, I'm really excited to see what other things SOG can come up with. And if anyone from SOG is listening to this, just take this lock and put it on the Flash, lose the assist, and you will have a massive winner, a bigger winner than you already have. And I already think the Flash is a good knife, but that would put it into the stratosphere with if it had an action as nice as this, but just leave everything else alone. So just want to throw that out there. Let's get into the rest of our comparison. Okay. We have size and weight to start with, and both of these are big, beefy knives. These are both knives you definitely know you've got in your pocket. 9 3/16 is the overall size on the SOG, and that's including this pommel striker here, or glass breaker, whatever you want to call it. 3 7/8 on the blade, 5 1/4 inches when closed. Okay. So that's how much space it's going to be taken up in your pocket. It has a 4-inch grip area, so lots and lots of real estate there, even if you have very large hands. And finally, you can hear that when I dropped it. I didn't drop it on purpose, but it serves my purpose. 8.25 ounces. This is a very hefty knife, and you can see, the construction here. You've got steel liners, a great big steel backspacer, a giant hunk of S35 VN up front. So this is not a lightweight knife by any stretch of the imagination. Moving over to the AD10, it's not a lightweight knife either. It is a little bit smaller, by the way, than the SOG. So let's quickly run through those specs. 8 13/16 overall. 3 9/16 on the blade, so a little more than 3.5 inches. 5 5/16 when closed. 4 inches, 3 3/4 inches, I should say, of grip area. Okay, 3 3/4 inches, so a little bit smaller, but it does have that choil that you can choke up if you needed to, which makes a bit of a difference, and that's a big consideration for some people. And finally, it weighs in at 6.8 ounces. So not a lightweight knife either, but still significantly lighter than the AD10. Again, both of these are thick. Let me turn them this way, and you can see, right, the contouring on the handles does make for a very comfortable knife, but it makes for a very thick knife as well. And so the trade-off is there. And by the way, listen, if you're the kind of person who takes your EDC knife out rarely and makes a couple of small cuts and puts it back and doesn't use it again for 3 or 4 days, you probably don't need a knife like this, right? Something that it doesn't even need to be that comfortable in hand. Buy a Benchmade 940 or something else with a small handle that doesn't give you a lot of leverage, because it doesn't really matter. If you're the person who's doing a lot of cutting and doing hard work with your folding knife and putting a lot of pressure and holding your knife for long periods of time, then that's where these knives really start to make sense, because you've got so much grip area and it's spreading that force out over a larger area, and that really does make a difference. So the Seal has a better blade to handle ratio. Okay, the AD10 is lighter. Both are still fairly big, beefy knives, but in size, weight, and carry, the AD10 AD10 comes ahead pretty easily there, as it's, it's almost 2 ounces lighter, and you can definitely notice that when carrying it in pocket. All right, and I wouldn't suggest for a second that, you're getting right. The extra weight is not giving you any extra utility at all. Moving on to the blade, let's do the seal this time first. Seal XR, the blade here is S35VN Cerakote blade, clip point, nice and thin at the edge, only 19 thousandths. And the blade stock here is a rather significant 3/16 of an inch. If I just let me hold this beside the AD10 so you can see, they're both pretty thick blade stock, but the steel is considerably thicker. All right. The blade stock on the AD10 is like 5/32, and you've got a full 3/16 over on the Seal XR. Back to the AD10 here to get the rest of the stats. To get the rest of the blade specs, we have S35VN with a satin finish. Now this one has a hollow grind, and that's important to notice. I really, really like the hollow grind on this knife. I wish they didn't get rid of it. It does improve cutting power. It really does. And I don't think, I actually specifically contacted Cold Steel about this, and I'm like, come on guys, I heard that you're making this into a flat ground blade. Why? And they said, well, we want it to be stronger. And I'm like, come on, really? Who is taking this and jamming it into something and then just prying or putting all kinds of force on this? You're going to be pushing this way anyway. Anyway, beside the point, but the hollow grind cuts really, really well. The flat grind just is not going to cut as well. It's still, Cold Steel is known for doing a great job of this. So I'm not suggesting that the flat ground AD10s don't cut well. And in fact, I've had a number of people comment who own them that they're still pretty stinking good. All right. So I know I'm digressing a little bit into a side topic. Again, though, I've got to go with the AD10 in terms of which one is the winner here. Essentially the same steel, very similar cutting edge, very similar ability, but the satin grind but the satin finish is something I definitely prefer. Cerakote is great. It's hard, it's durable, but any black coating on any blade is eventually going to wear, and that wear is going to be highly noticeable because under this black is this satin. Okay, the benefit of a satin blade is when you scratch it, when you cut it, when you beat it up. Like I've been using this for years for all kinds of things. Like I use it quite a lot, and it doesn't have any wear and tear. If this was a black blade like this, it would be covered with marks and mars, and not that that's the end of the world. It doesn't hurt functionality. I know that, but I prefer satin. Not only do I like the look of satin more, but I like the durability of satin more. So the AD10 is the winner in the blade comparison, but both again are pretty stinking good. Moving on to the action. This one is going to be a little bit tougher. I have often said that the AD10 is the best implementation of the triad lock. It's smooth. Okay, it's pretty fast. Whoops. There you go. It's pretty fast. You can thumb flick this open fairly quickly and easily. It's not going to be as fast as the flipper with bearings on the SOG. It is, of course, a stronger lock, and this is a tough comparison. So not that long ago, actually, I'm hoping that this video doesn't post first. I don't think it will, but a little while ago, I compared the SOG with the Recon 1, and the Recon 1, the action is so-so. Like it's not nearly as nice as the action on the AD10 in terms of smoothness and how easy it is to actuate the lock. So because the AD10 is quite a bit better, now it's a much more difficult comparison. So I think I'm going to have to call these two a tie. The SOG is a little faster. The AD10 is going to be stronger. Both are quite enjoyable. And so because I can't specifically say one is way better, I'm going to have to call it a tie. So in terms of lockup and deployment, both are good. Both are excellent examples of what they're trying to do. I just can't pick one over the other as the definitive winner. If you really, if you're one of these people who just has to have a flipper tab and you prefer bearings significantly over washers, then yeah, the CLXR is going to be the way to go. However, these are hard to use knives, which makes me lean a little more toward a phosphor bronze pivot, which is what we got. This will be Teflon and phosphor bronze. So that's what cold steel pretty well always does. Okay. Finally, so I can't declare a definitive winner between those two. Sorry about that. You know what I didn't do with these, and I should, is do a little bit of cutting. So let me just quickly show you here. These are pretty darn good. The CLXR, I've got to say, for a blade as thick as it is, they've done a decent job. Now, the AD10 is phenomenal. You can really feel a significant difference there. This cuts so nicely, and it's because of that hollow grind. Anyway, now I know I've already moved on past the blade, but I wanted to throw that in there just to demonstrate what I was talking about. Finally, handle. CLXR is textured FRN with 3D contouring. It's nested liners. Hey, you can still see the liners in there. We've got proud liners at the spine here so that it gives some traction. A big bulky back spacer. All right, so that's what we're dealing with in terms of construction. Feel in hand is good, okay, especially with the 3D, with the thicker 3D handle. I like it. There's no issue with it whatsoever. However, when you pick up the Cold Steel AD10, it is perfect. It's like the lazy boy of knife handles. It is so comfortable that it just is like, yep, this was meant to be in a human hand. And there's nothing out there in terms of a folding knife that does as well as this. Maybe the Formax, but it's, of course, now we're in a different category. So it's an easy choice here. The AD10 is way more comfortable, and because of that, it easily wins in terms of handle construction. Everything else is too close to really make a big deal out of. And so, yeah, the ergonomics on the AD10 are much better. So the SOG is not a bad knife, not by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I would say the SOG is a good knife, and I'm going to do a full review of the SOG and get into some of those details, but I have no problem with the SOG. I actually like it quite a lot. The AD10, however, is exceptional, right? It's strong, it's comfortable, it cuts well. It is one of the best hard use knives available on the market when you really want to spare no expense. Second place, the Recon 1 would have to be considered as well, but the AD10 is so fantastic. And we haven't even touched on design, right? It's a piece of artwork as well. Andrew Demko has done a beautiful job, and there's a reason this is a really popular model of his. So at the end of the day, am I happy to pay $190 for this over $165 for this? Yes, easily. And if you don't have an AD10, you can sometimes get them on sale. I will say that. So look around. If you can find one on the secondary with a hollow grind, go that route. They're really good. But even if you can't, the AD10 is absolutely phenomenal. The SOG is good, okay? It's good, but it's good being compared to great right now. So there you go, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Again, don't forget to check those channel sponsors. It's a big help to the channel. We'll talk to you soon.